It's the bulk truth with Royce Schulte. How are you, Royce?
Doing great, Steve. How are you?
I'm well. Welcome to the show.
Thanks.
Hey, the other day, I saw this little snippet of a black and white movie of the Invisible Man, and back then, the way that they demonstrated him, he's invisible. You can't see him, but how do you film him in a movie? So they put a hat on him and some sunglasses, right? And that you could see in the movie where he's supposed to be, right? And so that's how he was revealing himself. And then our topic is how CADARO is able to put glasses and a hat on the invisible tax of this data that's in information and value that's slipping away in the plants. And I think that's kind of cool.
Yeah, sounds like we could have a mascot.
Yeah. So you were turning hidden treasure or transfer points into real-time control. And they are points of treasure where you can capture the treasure. The gold of our time is data. And your VERACITY Diamond offers a way to collect all this data that you didn't have before in real time at the point of transfer.
Sure. Yeah, I mean, in today's world, you hear a lot about data, but what people are looking for is something that's accurate, it's trustworthy, and especially with the progression of AI, right? Having good quality data that you can make, proactive decisions from, and then with utilizing AI is potentially, package that up in a way that's never been possible before, but it comes with starting with a good data point.
Yeah. So all these plants that process grains or corns or dog food or whatever that they're moving from one point to the other, they've designed these systems to not let all that stuff fall on the ground, but to get to its end point. And now you're coming around and going, let's do the same thing with the information that we can derive from this exchange.
Sure. Yeah, these plants, many of them have been in existence for quite some time, so they were designed well for processing. But at that time, it really wasn't important to maybe have an opportunity to measure flow rates or total weights that are going through the process. And that's what's unique is now people are looking for those insights and the ability to stop estimating or guesstimating what's happening and get real-time visibility. See the heartbeat of the plant as it's on a monitor. And then as they start making adjustments, be able to dial in their process and automate that process and make it repeatable.
Wow. So these older plants, so you have this device. We're just assuming that this is the first time someone's listening to this. You have this beautiful device that fits in tight places that doesn't change anything else. The dry bulk materials flow through unimpeded, and yet you're able to measure within plus or minus percent accuracy.
Correct. Yeah. So the CADARO flow sensors, it doesn't matter if it's a vertical pipe or an incline chute. So typically we can install those. We can measure flow rates as low as 15 pounds a minute, all the way up to 50,000 pounds a minute. And so a very broad range that can be measured. And with the latest invention with the VERACITY or launch of the VERACITY Diamond series back in February, now we're able to fit into very tight confined spaces. And so that's opening up opportunities and broadening the discussions across industries, across materials, and focusing on the customer's plant, right? What does my plant design look like? Where would visibility? Where do I have blind spots? Where would visibility help me? And then we start talking about where the technology could fit at transfer points, under a bin, feeding into it before it hits an auger. And so we're just looking for those opportunities or those transition points to install sensors.
Yeah, so this is not a thing that's nice to have. I believe that every business will process, and the way that AI is working and data and all this other insights that are starting to be apparent, that these plants must implement some version of accurate measurement with the flow of the materials through the plant.
Sure. I think, we hear a lot. I mean, people are used to managing however the plants operate today. So it's not uncommon that people consider this a nice to have, until it's put in. And then if you ask them if they want to take it out, the answer is no, right? So because it's revealing things that they couldn't see before, and it's unlocking performance maybe that they have never realized. And so the way it's progressing from a nice to have to a must have is people testing the technology and seeing the technology, and and having word of mouth from other applications as far as where it could fit and what it could do for other industries and other customers.
So this device fits in. You don't have to reconfigure the plant. You don't have to do any manufacturing. It's just a bolt-on in a nice tight place where the materials transition from one chute to the other, I guess. And but there's a sensor in there, electronic sensor that's sending data somewhere. Where does that data go, and who's looking at it?
Yeah, so as the material's passing through that pipe or chute in the flow sensor with the design, we actually capture pressure on a load cell, and that load cell signal is connected to our control panel. And within that control panel, we have our software. And so our software is going to convert that signal into real-time flow rate and weight. And then from there, in some plants, they have no PLC on site. And so they may automate from our control panel that we provide. In other situations, they have complete automation. And so they're going to integrate that data and information into their existing system and then automate from that.
So these plants, they're implementing other forms of automation, and it's just this is an area that they didn't have the expectation that they could measure like this to complement existing automation implementations. No?
Sure. Yeah, in many of the plants, I mean, they have automation around liquids, they have automation around gas, and so they're using those type flow meters or flow sensors. And so what we're doing is unlocking that for bulk dry materials. And so whether it be whole grains or processed grains, as those materials are passing through the system or process, now they can measure those and then get a better view as far as what the incoming rates are, what their yields are as they look at various fractions of the material as it's processed. And so they can get a quick view in real time as far as how things are breaking down. And then from there, they can start making adjustments. And with AI coming on board, now you have, as you're generating this data, and you create a benchmark, a baseline, and then you can start comparing yourself to how did we perform last week, how did we perform last quarter, last year, and so there's those type of analytical insights that are going to be coming from the data or the information that we're providing.
So these critical transfer points in the plants, I imagine there are certain challenges that they're managing up to this point until they meet VERACITY Diamond. And what are some of those challenges that they're managing at that?
Sure. So in some cases, I mean, they're using amperage on a motor, which could vary based off of the bulk density of the material or the moisture of the material. They're using rotary valves, and so is the valve full or empty? And so all they can tell is what are the revolutions. And so those are some of the stopwatches. So there's a lot of ways that people are estimating or have a formula to get to performance. But what we're doing is unlocking that to give them a real-time signal, real-time information that's accurate, that then they can start building their automation from.
So at the moment I imagine they have paper solutions as far as tracking data and auditing or doing some sort of balance at the end of the day, the month, the week.
Sure. Yeah. That's in some cases they're creating a static, measurement or estimation. There's a lot of complicated spreadsheets that I've seen and heard about, how they're coming to a yield and again, in some cases, I mean, the estimation is, they're highly accurate, but then when you get to the end of the production or as you're trying to true up inventory, what you're finding is that might not be the case as far as the variances that they're trying to adjust.
So if they have some variances in question, then they have to try, where's the point we're breaking down? Is it is that person doing their job like they should? There's all these, I think of wasted time of trying to run down the truth.
Sure. Yeah. It's somewhat subjective. And then to your point, right, depending on who's measuring or how they're measuring, that creates a range of error, if you will. And and then you have different sets of numbers. You've got people that within the plant, right, that are doing their best job they can with the resources they have, that are trying to keep track of inventories and keep track of production. And then when you get to the end in accounting and you said we brought in X number of pounds certified weight, at the end of the day we produced this much. It's after the fact, right? It's already over. So now it's just making the plus or minuses adjustment. And so ideally with these sensors, you're getting to a single set of numbers, right? So everybody's benchmarking off the same numbers that are very repeatable and trustworthy.
Yeah, this sets people up for success instead of, hey, we need to check your work.
Sure.
You've brought this visual to the show today. Let's talk about it.
Yeah, so it generally starts with clearance. So as people are looking, they say we have a blind spot. We would like to be able to measure. We'd like to know what's happening in this part of our process. It's pretty common but we only have so much space, so much room, and so it's rare, but it does happen that the room's not a problem, but in most cases it is. And so the new VERACITY Diamond allows us to fit into tight spaces. And again, they're looking for actual performance, actual data in real time. And so when we put the sensor in, then we start reporting that and demonstrating that very quickly. So as soon as you plug it in, I mean, it's not uncommon that you'll see lots of variation, even though you get to an average, right? But it's very uncommon, right, to be operating that tightly. And so once they start seeing, the variance, many times they can start dialing in very quickly because now they can see it and they say, hey, we need to adjust this gate or this process to tighten that up. Here's what's going on. And what they lacked previously is just the knowledge or the visibility to what was actually happening. And so those are quick wins for an organization. And then over time, start to not only see that, but, continue to be tight day in, day out, shift after shift. Set the standards as far as where you want to be operating, and then start using this to benchmark that and give people credit, right, for solid performance. And really it wasn't a lack of effort or ability. It was just a lack of visibility.
Yeah. I think of in all of our businesses, in some form or fashion, we pay what I call a stupid tax, or this invisible tax, because we don't have a system in place or a process. And so we're letting something evaporate that could be of value. And this is kind of cool that it's demonstrating that invisible man, this fog of data that you're starting to quantify now.
Yeah. And we use it in our advertising all the time. I mean, we say you can't manage what you don't measure. And so that's really what we're doing here. Is by starting to measure, we're enabling teams to proactively manage and improve performance.
Yeah. What are some of the comments later after you mentioned that no, they don't want to take it out, but give me draw me a picture in my head. Let me see this location and what some folks are saying, and after this gets input.
Yeah, so it's not uncommon. So you're focused on a certain stage of a process in a plant, and so once you address that challenge or that opportunity and start showing the performance, then with that data, we start talking about operational intelligence. And so operational intelligence is now we're getting greater insights, right? We have a better understanding of what's going on in our process, and when something's not performing as expected or as desired, we're able to start taking action. And within that operational intelligence, it could be taking actions on automation. It could be just having better analytics to know exactly how we're performing and possibly start to identify where are the bottlenecks. What's restricting our ability to continue to improve our processes. And so, that becomes a focus area. Some cases we've heard of people, start utilizing it just to understand maintenance. And so they can see, performance. So if something's slowing down or something's changing, then they can start thinking about, do we need to take a mill down, right? Do we need to look at that? Do we need to turn screens? Is there an action as far as maintenance again, but you're seeing something that you couldn't see before in the data, in the flow rates, in the performance. And those are a couple of things that come to mind as far as, what people are doing additionally beyond what it was intended for.
Are there any limitations to whatever dry bulk materials that your apparatus can measure?
So, I mean, to date, I mean, we're always finding new materials and new applications. So I'm sure there's going to be some challenges that we have to work through. But typically, if it's dry and it will flow, we can measure it. And so, the flow characteristics of materials as far as grains versus, say flour or processed grains, they can be different, right? So we may have to make some slight adjustments, but the principles remain the same.
And so this can be installed. Are we talking a week installation process? What does that look like?
Yeah. So we've had cases that it's 30 minutes. So if it's going under an overhead bin and we know the gate dimensions or flange size, we match to that. We raise it up, scissors lift, bolt it on, plug it in, and we're running. So, it could be as quick as that. In other cases, when they have an outage or a planned maintenance event, we can proactively plan as far as, any transitions, what we're mating into, what the size dimensions are, and quickly pull out what's there and go back in. So typically it's hours, if most a day. So it can be very quick. And again, then it depends on the plant. Some plants are, looking for a single sensor, and we have other plants that they may be looking to implement 5 sensors at one time. And so it varies as far as the complexity.
So what takes longer, installing or calibration?
Calibration is really quick. So I'd say the installation would be the bigger piece, but calibration, I mean, we have processes depending on the facility and the product that we walk a customer through and help them get calibrated. And then what we like to see is just operationally, they have a set method as far as, to verify calibration early on to get their confidence level up as far as how it's performing. And then a simple way to check, if it's next month, next quarter, next year, that an operator has a way that they can, if there's a question as far as how accurate it is, or if they, from an audit perspective, if they need it to do it to demonstrate for audit purposes that, how accurate it is, then it's an easy couple minutes and you're off to the races.
Wow. So in just a matter of less than a day, less than a morning, one could be measuring accurately, having data on a screen, having data sent to home office, wherever. That's all realistic expectations, no?
That is.
So you buy it outright? Do you rent it? What's that look like?
So we have several options. I mean, depending on the customer, obviously there's an outright purchase with perpetual licensing on software and controls. We have a CADARO complete subscription to where we have customers that want to see it in action first and show that it works. So it's not uncommon that people are skeptical. They've been sold things in the past that were claimed to do what we do. So it's not a problem for us. We offer it as CADARO complete. You pay an annual amount. You plug it in. You're using it for that year. And that gets people a chance to really see it in action. And in many cases, we've given the option if they want to convert that to an owned unit before the end of the year, that's also an option for them.
All right. So in a matter of time, you can have clarity what's going on in your plant, which builds confidence, and then opens up all sorts of possibilities to optimize, plan, and know. Pretty cool.
It is.
All right, Royce. Any question I didn't ask today?
No, I think you covered it. So if people have questions, love to hear from them. They can get in touch with us. I think what the email address is.
Well, let's pull it up. There it is.
info@cadaro.com. So if you want to send an email, it's easy to go on the website. You can go on the website and select for a site assessment or review. And so it's an easy way to schedule a time for a Teams virtual meeting, if you will, to discuss your site and share some information both ways. So those are a couple quick ways to get in touch with us.
CADARO.com, CADARO.com. And then there's this sexy QR code up here with the C for CADARO. Scan that, it'll take you directly there on your phone. And connect with Royce, and let's see what your future would look like with clarity, with information, with data. Get you modernized without having to retrofit or redo your whole plant. All right, Royce, good show.
Thanks.
And that's a wrap.